Today I wanted to go through some common mistakes that beginner YouTubers are making with their thumbnails. And we're splitting it up into 3 parts. We'll have design elements, photos, and text. And thumbnail is really key to your video being successful. You need people to click on the video, and so they need to be gripped by that first image. You're looking to have about a CTR, a click-through rate of 6% or higher. If you can get to 6 or 10%, that's amazing. Throughout all of this, there's going to be one theme that's going to be quite consistent. Simplicity is key, less is more. We want these thumbnails to convey a hook or to more accurately articulate what the video is going to be about. So starting off with design elements, quite often people want to put in maybe their logo or something on the thing to sort of tie them all together. And I can understand why you'd want to do that. You want to kind of get your brand out there a bit more, but I find it's more often used by the much bigger brands. I might put the Photoshop logo on mine, and then that just says that this tutorial is about Photoshop. But if I was to continue to put my Krista Pulse logo in there, it doesn't really mean anything to too many people just yet. So when you're starting off, you want to avoid using that. Don't put your logo in it. Don't put any other kind of elements in there. You want to maximize that real estate to either use your photo or get more text in there, bigger text, just to use it to sort of show what the video is going to be about more. You might have noticed on the right hand side, YouTube likes to put in various blocks, and you've kind of got the add to queue and the watch later and then the time at the bottom. Bear in mind the elements that are going to be on the right hand side there and design around that. I was mentioning earlier about not using your logo, but what you could use is certain elements to tie all the videos together. So an example of one of my videos is I've got this sort of angled teal background. This features my brand colors, and they're used for sort of my tutorial videos really. And then I'll have reviews, and then that will feature the logos of the companies that I'm reviewing. You can add certain colored borders. There's Casey Farris adds certain borders to his thumbnails, and that dictates what type of video they are. So you might have tech reviews be one style, vlogging might be a different style, reviews might be another one, and you might use a design element to sort of differentiate those types of video. One thing to bear in mind is you want to design for the small screen. As much as you'll see your video in the feed, it'll be a certain size, but then if you see it in suggested videos, it's going to be a lot smaller. And same again when you're browsing on your phone, so it's worth zooming out and making sure that all your text is legible. Make sure that everything is sort of conveyed at a very, very small size. One common design for thumbnails is to create sort of like a story arc. And you can see this in either sort of like the before and after or an A to B. Well, for most of the Western world, we read left to right. So you want to have before on the left and after on the right, and stick to that. So always reading left to right, and we'll read the images left to right, before and after, or A and the B. What I'm going to be coming across quite a lot is versus reviews. It might be a Sony camera versus a Canon camera. The journey is A to B for your viewer, so it always wants to run from left to right. This is what you can go from, and you'll end up as this. Where possible, keep most of the action in the center of the thumbnail. We as humans are quite lazy, and having to shift our eyes a little bit too much can be quite disorientating. So if you can keep most of the action sort of to the middle there, or at least slightly leaning right, you want to be able to sort of differentiate the foreground and the background. So something that's quite often done is to have the product at the foreground, and then there's a color overlay, and then the background, and there's sort of like you put a bit of an opacity layer on there, and that can sort of create a bit of contrast. Another great element is to sort of like spoon feed your audience. You need to sort of use arrows and pointing and expressions or whatever, and it just sort of like guides the eye a bit better. So you might want to add circles or arrows, underlines, just sort of hand-drawn red circles, just to sort of like further draw the eye. Moving on to text, you want to avoid using sort of overly complex or fancy fonts. Keep it very, very simple, ideally quite a big bold font, and don't use too many words either. Keep it to around 4 words if possible. But if ever I have to use a lot of words, I'll make sure that the keyword is really quite big, and then maybe about 70% or half the size will be the other words. They call it the caveman test, and it's sort of if you show it to a caveman, can they almost grunt it back to you in very, very simple words? What is this video about? It's about Having a big, strong, bold font makes it a lot easier to read when viewed from a distance. So when you're looking at the suggested videos on your phone, text is going to be a lot more legible if it's big and bold. In terms of colour, you want to be able to create some sort of contrast and not find that the the text bleeds in with the image too much. So one thing you can use is use a complementary color, and that's a color at the opposite end of the color wheel. And those are designed to be almost the exact opposite of each other, and they stand out against one another. Quite often I find it's just sort of like using either just a flat white or black will go with anything really. And you can add maybe a bit of an outline or a drop shadow, a bit of a border, and that can create a bit of the contrast needed. And the final section is photos, how you're going to make use of your face for the most part. One tactic that you'll be very familiar with is the expressions. They call them clickbait faces, and they're based around some of the human emotions. We as humans react quite viscerally to seeing contempt or disgust or anger. Those kinds of expressions make us curious. You want to know, why is somebody reacting like that? And so that can sort of like create like a bit of a disconnect in your thumbnails, and people want to click and find out more about it. It really intrigues your audience. So where applicable, make good use of that. Making sure that your face is in your thumbnails is a great way to build your sort of personal brand and get people used to your face being there. There's an authenticity to showing your face. You're not hiding behind something. There's nobody who's kind of wondering why we're only hearing the voice and not the face. It can, your audience can feel a bit sort of like you're being a bit dishonest. So by getting out there and showing your face, showing that you kind of represent your brand and you're proud of it, and you're able to sort of just front it and show yourself to the world. All right, and that's the end of this video. If you're interested in more videos about branding for your YouTube channel, then make sure you hit subscribe. I post every Monday, but every now and then I might post a Wednesday or a Friday. So make sure you hit that notification bell and you'll be one of the first to be notified about those videos. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.